All right, so get ready, because today we're going deep on a topic that's both intriguing and a little bit spicy. The evolution of mammalian sex.
Oh, yeah.
You sent over some interesting research on this,
I did.
mainly excerpts from a book about the evolution of sex, and I'm excited to explore it with you.
Me too.
We're going to be covering a lot of ground here, from those early rodent-like mammals
Right.
all the way to the complex behaviors we see today in mammals.
Yeah, it's a journey spanning millions of years, and it highlights how evolution has shaped not just the physical act of reproduction,
Right.
but also the experience of pleasure, desire,
Yeah.
even social dynamics within the mammalian world.
And I have a feeling we're in for some surprises along the way.
I think so.
For example, I had no idea that the female orgasm might have played
Oh, yeah.
such a crucial role in evolution.
It's fascinating.
And the clitoris.
Yeah.
Well, let's just say the book refers to it as having its own chronicles.
Interesting.
So I'm curious to delve into that.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Often, when we think about evolution, we focus on survival of the fittest.
Right.
But what this research shows is that pleasure, especially in the context of reproduction, can be a really powerful evolutionary force.
Yeah.
After all, if something feels good,
Hmm.
you're more likely to do it again.
Right.
And that can have a big impact on passing on your genes.
Makes sense. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
The book talks about the age of the orgasm, which was a period after the dinosaur extinction, 66 million years ago.
Yeah.
What was so special about this time?
Well, this was a period of rapid diversification for mammals.
Okay.
They were suddenly free from the shadow of the dinosaurs
Right.
and able to explore all sorts of new ecological niches.
Yeah.
And it's during this time that the intense, full-blown orgasm
Wow.
we know and love
Okay.
seems to have emerged in both males and females.
Wow. So the extinction of the dinosaurs paved the way for, well, the big O.
You could say that.
That's quite a legacy. But why would evolution favor such an intense experience? Right.
Was it purely for our enjoyment?
It's unlikely that pleasure alone was the driving force.
Yeah.
The book actually describes a very practical purpose for the orgasm,
Okay.
and it all comes down to stillness.
Stillness.
Yes, after orgasm,
Okay.
there's a natural tendency to remain still.
Right.
And this, it seems, was crucial for early mammals.
Okay.
Remember, they were often small,
Right.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Staying put after mating increased the chances of fertilization.
Oh, okay.
So orgasm, with all its pleasurable sensations,
Yeah.
actually became a clever way to encourage a behavior
Interesting.
that was beneficial for reproduction.
So it's like nature saying, hey, have some fun, but also stay put for a bit.
Exactly.
Pretty ingenious,
Right,
right?
absolutely. It highlights how evolution can take seemingly simple mechanisms
Right.
and weave them into complex strategies for survival.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Now let's talk about another anatomical feature that's always fascinated me.
Okay.
The external penis.
Why, in the course of evolution, would such a vulnerable organ end up exposed?
Mm.
It seems counterintuitive.
You're right, it does seem like a risky design choice.
Yeah.
The book explores a few different hypotheses for this.
Okay.
One idea is that an external penis was advantageous for internal fertilization,
Okay.
especially for those smaller early mammals.
Mm-hmm.
It essentially gave them a head start,
Oh.
getting the sperm closer to the egg more efficiently.
Okay, so like a built-in efficiency boost.
Right,
Makes sense. But I can imagine there are other factors at play too, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Another hypothesis points to sexual selection.
Okay.
Having the penis exposed
Right.
allows for females to assess its size and health,
Oh, okay.
potentially using that information to choose the best mates.
Ah, so it becomes a way to show off your fitness, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a third hypothesis that I find particularly interesting,
Okay.
and it brings us back to the clitoris.
Okay.
It suggests that the external penis and clitoris co-evolved, playing a role in foreplay and increasing arousal.
Yeah.
This, in turn, would have made the stillness after sex,
Right.
and therefore fertilization,
Yeah.
more likely.
Okay.
So we're seeing this fascinating interplay between reproductive success and pleasure.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the job done.
Right.
It's about creating an experience that encourages that behavior to happen again and again.
That's so interesting. It really flips the script on how we typically think about evolution.
It does.
But before we go too far down that road, let's get back to the clitoris.
All right. The book calls this section The Clitoris Chronicles.
Yeah, which definitely piqued my curiosity.
Hmm.
What can you tell me about its evolutionary journey?
Well, for starters, it's much older than you might think.
Okay.
The clitoris actually evolved alongside the penis,
Oh, wow.
going back an incredible 330 million years.
Okay.
And initially, it was internal.
So they started out as hidden twins?
Yeah, just like those early penises we talked about.
Right, right.
And then around the same time that external penises emerged,
Okay.
the clitoris also began to make an appearance, at least partially.
Gotcha.
And then, about 66 million years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it underwent some significant internal growth,
Okay.
becoming packed with nerve endings.
Okay, that definitely sounds like the makings of a good chronicle.
Right,
But why such complexity?
right.
If the main goal was reproduction, wouldn't a simpler design have sufficed?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that evolutionary biologists have been pondering for a while.
Yeah.
If the female orgasm wasn't essential for fertilization,
Right.
why would evolution favor such a complex and sensitive organ?
Exactly. It seems like a lot of effort for something that's not strictly necessary.
Right. But as with everything in evolution,
Mm-hmm.
there are likely multiple factors at play.
Yeah.
One idea is that a complex clitoris,
Right.
capable of experiencing orgasm,
Yeah.
actually increased the chances of fertilization in a few key ways.
Okay.
For example, the stillness we talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
which is triggered by orgasm,
Right.
would have been just as beneficial for females as it was for males.
So it's not just about the males staying put, the females also benefit from that postcoital chill.
Precisely.
Okay.
And a more sensitive clitoris
Right.
might have also increased the likelihood of females seeking out sex,
Okay.
leading to more mating opportunities overall.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about enduring sex, it's about actually wanting it.
Exact.
But I'm still a little puzzled.
Okay.
The book mentions that not all sex positions provide clitoral stimulation.
Mm.
So why evolve such a sensitive organ if it wasn't always being, well, utilized?
That's where considering the context of early mammals is important.
Okay.
Remember, they were much smaller,
Right.
and their mating positions likely differed from what we see in many mammals today.
Okay.
The book suggests that even a slight bit of stimulation to the clitoris during mating,
Okay.
perhaps through contact with the ground or the male's body,
Yeah.
could have been enough to trigger those stillness responses that were so beneficial for fertilization.
Ah, so it's all about those subtle yet impactful touches.
Exactly.
But what about the G-spot?
Okay.
Is that part of the clitoris's domain as well?
The G-spot,
Yeah.
or what's thought to be the G-spot,
Right.
is a cluster of nerves located on the front wall of the vagina.
Okay.
Its connection to the clitoris is still debated among scientists.
Mm-hmm.
Some believe it's an extension of the clitoral network,
Right.
while others consider it a separate entity.
Gotcha.
What's clear is that it can be a source of intense pleasure for some women,
Mm-hmm.
potentially even leading to orgasm.
It sounds like there's still a lot to learn about female sexual anatomy and the complexities of pleasure.
Absolutely.
But speaking of pleasure, the book also dives into a topic that might surprise some people: mammalian masturbation.
Oh, yeah,
It seems our furry friends are quite familiar with the joys of self-pleasure.
that's right.
Masturbation is surprisingly common across the animal kingdom. The book describes a fascinating array of techniques:
Yeah.
licking, dry humping objects, using paws, tails, even trunks in the case of elephants.
Right.
Now that's what I call resourceful.
I know, right?
But why is it so widespread?
Mm.
Is it purely for pleasure, or are there other evolutionary reasons behind it?
The book suggests several possible benefits,
Okay.
and that they go beyond just feeling good.
Yeah.
For example, masturbation might play a role in stress reduction.
Okay.
It seems to activate those feel-good chemicals in the brain,
Yeah.
providing a natural way to cope with anxiety or tension.
So it's like a built-in stress reliever.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. What else?
Well, in some species, mutual masturbation is observed,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems to play a role in social bonding.
Oh, okay.
It can strengthen relationships and reinforce social hierarchies.
So it's not just about getting off, it's about connecting with your fellow creatures.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And what about males?
Okay.
Any specific benefits for them?
In males, one of the proposed benefits of masturbation is sperm clearance.
Okay.
Regular ejaculation, even without a partner,
Right.
can help maintain sperm quality and potentially boost fertility.
So there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
Masturbation. It's not just for humans.
Right.
But let's move on to another intriguing topic: erogenous zones.
Okay.
It seems that as mammals evolved,
Right.
their pleasure maps became more intricate,
Uh-huh.
expanding beyond the, shall we say, obvious areas.
Absolutely. The book has really interesting explanation for this.
Okay.
It turns out that many erogenous zones actually overlap with areas that are highly sensitive to danger.
Okay.
Think about the armpits, the inner thighs, the neck.
Hmm.
These are all places that are vulnerable to attack
Right.
and wired to trigger a fear response if touched unexpectedly.
Okay. That makes sense from a survival standpoint.
Right.
But how did these danger zones become pleasure zones?
Mm.
It seems like a risky evolutionary move.
The theory is that this sensitivity was repurposed, in a sense.
Mhm.
During sex, these vulnerable areas, when touched by a trusted mate,
Right.
become associated with pleasure instead of fear.
Yeah.
It's like a rewiring of the brain, turning a threat response
Mhm.
into a reward response.
That's incredibly clever.
Yeah.
It's like evolution took something meant to protect us and turned it into something that brings us pleasure.
Right.
Now, what about nipples?
Okay.
Why are they so sensitive, especially in females?
Nipples are fascinating because they're connected to multiple systems within the body.
Okay.
Stimulation of the nipples triggers the release of prolactin,
Right.
which is essential for milk production,
Mm-hmm.
and oxytocin, the bonding hormone,
Right.
which is involved in both maternal care and sexual attraction.
So it's like a triple whammy of hormones,
It is.
all linked to pleasure, nurturing, and connection.
Exactly.
No wonder nipple stimulation can be so powerful.
Right.
But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to know where all this evolutionary history leads us. The book talks about primates and their diverse mating systems.
Yeah.
And I'm sensing a connection to our own human complexities.
Yeah, primates, they developed a fascinating array of mating systems.
Right.
You have polygyny,
Yeah.
where one male mates with multiple females.
Right.
Polyandry,
Uh-huh.
where one female mates with multiple males.
Right.
And then you have promiscuity,
Yeah.
which is kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And even monogamy,
Right.
that one-on-one partnership.
So primates have pretty much experimented with all the options.
Like much.
And it seems like humans have inherited a bit of everything
Yeah.
when it comes to relationships and mating behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. We humans,
Yeah.
we have this complex tapestry of sexual behaviors woven from our primate ancestry.
Right.
It's this heritage that often leads to
Yeah.
those conflicting desires we
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
and the challenges we face in navigating love, relationships, even things like infidelity and fetishes.
So those seemingly messy aspects of human sexuality are actually rooted in our evolutionary past.
It seems that way.
That's a pretty mind-blowing thought.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that evolution doesn't always result in clear-cut outcomes.
Yeah.
It's a process of trial and error,
Right.
adaptation and compromise.
Right.
Our sexual behaviors, just like any other trait,
Yeah.
are a product of this long and winding evolutionary journey.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yep.
what are some of the key takeaways that stand out to you?
For me, it's the realization that sex is so much more than just a biological imperative.
Yeah.
It's this powerful force that has shaped our anatomy, our behaviors, our social structures, and even our emotions.
I totally agree. It's amazing to see how evolution has shaped sex in mammals.
It is.
But it leaves me wondering, what about humans specifically? Are our sexual behaviors purely biological, or is there more to the story?
That's a great question. And something we can definitely explore further in our next deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be focusing on the evolution of human sexuality.
Interesting.
We'll delve into the evolution of love, infidelity, and fetishes,
Okay.
examining how these behaviors might provide advantages
Yeah.
in our evolutionary past
Right.
and how they continue to influence us today.
Sounds like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
I think so.
Well, if you're as intrigued as we are,
Yeah.
I encourage you to check out the book we referenced today
Yes.
and delve deeper into this fascinating world of mammalian sexuality.
It's definitely a journey worth taking.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Right.
Remember, sex is a powerful force,
It is.
one that has shaped the course of evolution
Yeah.
and continues to shape our lives in profound ways.
Absolutely.
Embrace the complexity,
Yeah.
question the assumptions,
Yeah.
and keep exploring.
Definitely.
Until next time, happy